Don't lose your way. Your mind, we have to be as one.
Okay. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys. We got a collaboration today. Today I have MasterSwagKing with me. Say hello to everybody. Hey,
hello,
guys.
Pokemon lovers.
Hello, everybody. But anyways, we're actually going to be doing a little bit of a collaboration today. It's going to be a two-parter. So if I've done the video correctly, there should be a little button you can click to click the second part. So we're going to be talking about open-mindedness as a Yu-Gi-Oh player and how to open up, as Glasgow said, open up your third eye and kind of see, get better as a player. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want to do at Yu-Gi-Oh? We want to get better. So anyway, Joseph, how many events have you been to? I'm just kind of curious, things have changed.
I have been to, let's say, at least 5 locals and 2 regionals. I live in California area, and my very first one was Las Vegas regional, which was at least 500 people, and then my second LA regional was 1,000 people.
Yeah, my friend Robert went to the LA regionals. He says they're crazy, like 1,000 people show up every time. Now
and it's 9 rounds.
Yeah, and my last regional in March was 9 rounds, and it's grueling. Granted, my last regional I was playing DDDs, and my brain did not function for all the day because I spent so much time. Those combos are learning them takes so much time. But anyways, me as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I think where I was able to take that next step is allowing myself to test cards. Now, we all know, one card I'm going to talk about in this video is that we all know Pot of Desires is a card that is very controversial in terms of
it's a neg 9, right?
It's neg 9, yeah, we all know. But this is the thing is that I admit I thought that too. But the thing is that I was stubborn about it. I was like, no. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna try it because it's like a food you don't like. You gotta at least try it, and I did. And even in a deck like Magicians with its time, this is where Wisdom Eye's at 1, Pen Calls I think at 1, Kieran's at 1, all these limited cards, and for the most part, those cards banished didn't really matter that much. And once I let myself kind of realize that, I got a little bit better. But Joseph, what card would you say that kind of made a difference, in terms of a card that you didn't want to test, you didn't want to play, but you tried it, and you're like, this is pretty good?
It was back in the day. This is before when I actually became meta and we started playing meta. This was back when Heavy Storm was still at 1. But I've been playing for a very, very long time. I've been playing since the game began. I just never understood why I would play Heavy Storm. I never tell people that because I was like, wait a minute. Why would I want to blow up my own spell and Trubbards? And then someone was like, you activate it before you do anything, you play any backer. I was like, but why would I ever be in that situation? I'd rather would just play him as T. Then I realized that, oh, wait a minute. They're actually telling the truth. They've been winning with this. So they must have some validation on it. So that's when I started playing. So I'm like, I love this card. I love blowing out my opponent.
Right. And the reason I say it's a problem is because I see, and Desires is another great example because I've seen people say they despise it. I've seen all kinds of... You'd be surprised. I probably argued about 200 comments about the card. It kind of goes a little.
On Desires, the unpopular opinion. The reason why people hated it was because they couldn't afford it. I'm just being real.
I admit, when I got my 2 copies, because I had bought a Raging Tempest box at the time, and what did I pull? I pulled a Barrage, I pulled a Broadbolt, I pulled a Thoroughblade. I basically traded most of my good pulls from the box, plus a set of Terratops, just to get those Pot of Desires, because I needed them that badly. Because I wanted to make sure to give myself the best chance to win. And I look at my other builds that I kind of think I was a little stubborn about. I look at but I noticed that some people are so stubborn about playing a card that they will literally I remember I was trying to explain to a guy. Now we get along fine now, but we got a pretty heated argument because I tried to explain to him. I'm like, okay, in Pendulum Magicians, I do not think you need Utopia Lightning in the extra deck anymore. And I gave this broad explanation explaining that Utopia Lightning really hasn't been good since Dark Destroyer got limited, because when Dark Destroyer was limited, Beatrice could disrupt it, Dragon Buster could disrupt it, and then we go from there. There's just so many ways to keep a Lightning from running over anything. And the argument got heated to the point where he sent me a link that showed me the number of lightnings that have been played, and the data he showed me proved my point. It hasn't really been played since last March.
It actually hasn't.
Yeah, exactly. And and the whole point I was trying to explain to him is that with Link summoning, every extra deck space to me is valuable. Now, granted, my Magician build plays Starving Venom Fusion Dragon.
Yours is different. Yours is like crazy.
Mine's like I do like off the wall. I like off the wall crazy stuff with my decks half the time. But like it's 44 cards. It plays fusion cards. It doesn't really need to play, but it worked. And that's something like I noticed a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, and I've had this argument with people like. I remember there was an argument with another guy on the APS page about Pot of Desires, and I said, okay, print off a proxy. He literally said, well, why don't you test on DevPro? He's like, I don't have DevPro. I was like, well, why don't you print off proxies? It stops there because he doesn't want to play the card. And that's one of the things that, as you get better as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, one thing that I think you always need, even if you're playing the top tier decks, you need to test them. Because once you the thing I've learned over time, this is something I've learned a lot, is that every single Yu-Gi-Oh deck has one particular card that if you do stop that card, typically they can auto lose the entire game. And not every deck is like that, but that's why a card like Psyblockers can be really good in a lot of situations. So like, have you ever had situations like that you've noticed with other people? Like, I don't know how active you are in like the Facebook communities or whatever.
You'd be surprised. I advertise like literally every day. On the note of that, people have to understand because it's more on just coming out of your shell. I think a lot of players don't want to come out of their shell. What I mean by that is when someone is so comfortable, even in their own personal life, is doing the same thing over and over, they won't want to try something different. So let's say if like back then into Necros format, because that's a really recent format for people, because that's when a lot of people actually came back to the game, was during like Duelist Alliance format. So in Duelist Alliance format, we have Satella Knights that played Rigel to get over the Jin lock. A lot of players, so to tell my players that I want to play that because it is a break at that point in time. But people have to realize if you're going to a regional at this time or a YCS, you are going to be facing a lot of Necros decks. I don't care how many Klee decks, Shadal decks, or Burning Abyss decks, which are your easier matchups to deal with. You need this card to deal with the most prevalent deck of the format. Like, no, well, I don't need it. I can get over Necros with Trivir. How are you going to get to Trivir if you're Jin locked? So it's just
not
like
exactly.
You have to understand that you have to get out of this mindset. Oh, I don't care if you can beat every single deck. That's fine. You need to be able to beat one deck with one card. And if you're not willing to play that and try it out, even if it's a brick, it's a one of. Like, you're not going to draw it that much anyways. The chance of drawing it are like 5%. But you need it to get over this prevalent deck. That's what I'm trying to explain to Satella Knight players. And it's not even that bad against the other decks at the time period. You can use it to swing over like things like Graph, Seer, you can even swing over Window with it.
That was the main point, because like the problem with Teller Knights was that if they slapped a window on the board, you basically folded, because the whole deck's basic mechanic is to summon multiple monsters. That's why Winda is like, while Construct is banned, Winda has stood the test of time in terms of what it can do. Shadals aren't always going to be relevant because Construct is banned. But Winda is a card, I noticed this during early Zoo format. You saw some Shadal Zoo lists that were literally designed to abuse Winda, because Winda is very good against Zoo, because Zoo really doesn't have an out for it. Like they have to have a kaiju, or they're gonna have a bad time, man. like the meme said.
Funny story I gotta tell you. This girl on Zodiac, I think, said that Satella Knight players should play 2 Denebs, and I almost lost it. And a lot of people were playing 2 Denebs. Like, are you freaking stupid?
Well, I said this happened the other day, like in the Magician group, like. I saw, what was he playing? He was playing 2 Alistairs, because he's playing like the Invoked build. A buddy of mine at my last regional the deck profiles on the channel. He was playing Invoked Magicians, and I looked at his list, and it had 1 Joker, which if I have to explain to you why you need to play 3 Jokers or 3 Duelist Alliance, I think there's a problem. But he had 2 Alistairs in his list. I was just like.
Oh my god.
And I tried to reason with him, but he was just like, I drew multiple Duelist Alliance at Nats and all this. So I'm just like, okay. I haven't been playing this deck for almost 2 years. I don't know nothing.
It's just like I don't think people understand power play. Like searching your searchers and your power play cards, or as Patrick Hoban's book called them, they were called what? Extenders? Internal, external extender, because that, you know, you're going outside, you're going extra, you're going away. External extender cards are stuff you play at, are not necessarily stuff you play at 2, but it's stuff that that gets you further in the game. So stuff like Alistar, you said needs to be played at what, 3, right?
Well, it's the invoked build, but the thing is that what makes it good, like what made it good, is that but Link's kind of hurt this, but what it would have made it good is that Star Time Magician Exceed searches Alistair, so you don't really need to play a ton of them. In the way the deck works is that like the biggest what the deck would have done if Links weren't a thing would be to maybe put a Markaba or a Raijin next to your Star Time Magician, because Magicians always have this thing where they can't really make turn 1 boards, like crazy turn 1 boards. They're not going to make the Dino, you know, what was the Dino board I got made at Locals? This was before Diagram. What was it? It was VFD, Dolka, and Totally Awesome turn 1. I don't miss that. That was not fun. That was not fun. Well, I won. The funny part was about that match was this was before Diagram came out, but how the match ended. The match started, like I lose game 1, I go game 2, I do my hand, I have my hand. So I've cited Effect Veilers. Now, why am I citing Effect Veiler? Well, in this April to this brief period of time, Effect Veiler is a really good card because, you know, because Rat's been put to 2, Dinos have come out, but Diagram's not out. So Overraptor's a card. If you stop, they're fucked. So I'm playing where Artho in the main, so I could search it. But anyway, like I go Pot of Desires. My board's like, what was it? The Crystal Wing, a Siegfried, and a Meteor Burst. Because there's a lot of times I like to leave Meteor Burst out because I don't want any battle phase shenanigans. And I'm just like, he goes Overwrapped from like, I was like, I didn't think people played Veiler anymore, but like. It's things like that, like those little. One of the things that you have to see is like, one of the things that if being open minded is you have to see text before other people see them. Like basically, like I have a card right here. When this thing, I remember going to a regional where I didn't compete in the regional, but I picked up a playset of these when they were $10, and I was like, I read the card, I realized how good this thing was going to be. I didn't sell my playset before it got limited, but there was a time where, you know. Basically, like, being open-minded as a Yu-Gi-Oh player is, like, the best way it's not hard to do, you know. You have to... It takes time because you're not always going, you know... You're not going to be able to see, like, what some players, you know... It takes time, you know. It took me a year to completely relearn the game, and it took me, like, till now to actually be where I could, you know, go to a regional and not drop after round 7.
Oh, gosh.
Making it to round 9 before getting my 4th loss is an achievement, because every other regional I went to, like took Herald, I dropped after round 7. I took Metal Foes, dropped after round 7. So like, it's not like to me, but like back to the open-minded thing. Like the main thing is that sometimes it is really hard, because if you're like me as a person, I don't know about you, but I'm a very stubborn person. It's a good trait to have most of the time because it means that people won't walk all over you. Mm-hmm. But like, you know,
I'd say in like games, you have even in just in video games, you have to be open-minded. Like you see all the best video game players, all the best basketball players, all the best baseball players. The one thing that they'll say in interviews most consistently is that I listened to someone and I opened my mind. And that's when I actually got better. Even in League of Legends, for people who are going to watch it and play League, I only got better literally just by listening and watching the competitive, you know, LCS thing they do every single year now. Because if you literally just block out the game, just block out watching the game, and you just listen to what the better people are saying to you, you will absorb so much knowledge. And that's what I did for Yu-Gi-Oh! I literally went to the top tables at the locals that we had, the one out of town locals, and I was like, hey, how do I get better? How do I build better? You got to do this, this, and this. You have to play like this. You have to do mind stuff like this. All kinds of things play into Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
But no one really gives it that credit because, you know, apparently to noobs, it's a broken pleb net deck game with no skill.
Yeah, well, like with me, like one guy, like at a regional, like my last regional had some really good advice because, like, I went into, this is when kind of I got my 3rd loss was round 7. I was playing against Zoo, and he did the whole Zoo combo, set 4. And my hand's actually not bad. Like, I'm like, okay, like, if I can get, I'm going to pitch Kepler and recur Kepler and see, and go for one with Lamia. When the Lamia gets special summoned, he flips Chain Disappearance. And after the match, he tells me something. This was really good advice, is that if you want to win at top tables, you have to play cards that give you an advantage against whatever the best deck is. Like you have to think like that, because you have to think, okay, this deck's gonna be good. I want to play the card that counters that deck in my deck, and that's something he told me because he was playing Chain Disappearance. And I knew the card existed, but I'd never actually thought to play it, because after the event, I remember I'm like, there's a lot of targets for Chain Disappearance right now. And I thought about Alistair, Ratpier, Lamia, all these other cards, and I never would have thought to play that card if he hadn't said that. So like, anyways, we're gonna be moving to part 2 now, guys. You can check out the next video over on his channel. Anyway, guys, always thank you guys for watching. This is Aura Storm signing out.